Well, you know what it's like. I think it's easy to try and come up with a purpose. You know, it's a bit of a buzzword and everybody wants one, but how did we come up with it in the first place? I know we spent quite a bit of time on it, but you know, what were we trying to achieve with it?
Well, I think part of it was probably our background. Both of us have coming from an environment where the churn around customers and also sometimes the churn around staff had meant that the service levels weren't always consistent, and we were pretty passionate about wanting to build longer term relationships with our customers, but also really investing more in our people on a personal level to see them grow, I think. That's certainly something I was passionate about.
Well, I think for myself, I remember, you know, we talk about the churning of the staff. I remember what it was like to be a consultant. I remember in the, you know, the heady days of the mid-90s or whatever, mid-90s now. But, you know, you were able to do well without really being, you know, without being that solid in terms of the customer service. I don't know what you remember that being like when you first got into it.
Yeah. I mean, I think relationships were very transactional. You know, you get a good CV a lot of the time did the talking, really. But yeah, there's all about adding a lot more value, I'd say now.
Yeah. No, for me, I can remember I had this kind of like insight or, you know, moment with a client that I had quite a few contractors in there with, and I always used to find out through candidates that this dude was interviewing, and I'd phone him up. I always remember him, Dennis Saunders, Tech Systems, Gup to SQL Windows. That was my technology at the time. So I had a really, you know, buzzing area, Nottingham. And yeah, phoning him up and him just, you know, saying to me, yeah, he'd give me the job and I'd work it and I'd fill it. And this went on and on and on. And, you know, eventually I just had to say to him, Dennis, why do I find out from other people that, you know, that you're looking? Why do you never phone me? He said, because I can't stand you. So I was like, you know, dagger to the heart sort of thing. And I was like, but why? I find you all the people. He just said, you're unpleasant to deal with. You're pushy, you're aggressive. And that's what it took back then, I think, to succeed, because the demand was so high. But it really kind of hit me that I was sort of 2-3 years into my job. I was doing well financially, but I didn't have a client relationship that I could. Nobody called me. I had to, you know, constantly go outbound. And I really did, you know, I think if you talk about sustainability, I just thought, I can't keep doing this. I can't work in this way. It's like a hamster wheel. I'm just going to get exhausted. So for me, that was kind of a, you know, pivotal moment.
Right. Makes sense. I think I probably shaped my recruitment career in similar ways then, really. Thinking back, started as a trainee with no experience, and right after the market had crashed, which we're seeing a lot more regular these days.
Which crash was that?
I think that was 2002, so it was after the Lehman Brothers crash. Doing telecommunications in that market, it's probably the hardest market to do. And you know, I tell the staff to this day, you know, I didn't make a placement during that 6 months. But what I did do is really hone my craft, really build relationships, build my market, and that gave me the platform for sustainable success. So, you know, when we're talking to people at Insight now, we're talking really around this iceberg of success, that there's a lot of the foundations that need to be built. There's a lot of relationships, your network that needs to be built before you then see the bit above the ocean where the success comes through. And I think that's something that we really impress on our people now and has stood us in good stead.
Yeah, I think that, you know, the danger for somebody starting out in this is they can get some success that's not really built on any true foundations. And then they've got the way of working, then they've imprinted on, that's their MO. And then they can't sustain it going through. That's definitely a danger for some people.
Yeah. How have you found the balance between teamwork, people working together, and, you know, historically recruitment was seen as, to be successful, you've got to be, you know, the number one biller. Where do you see that balance has shifted from an Insight point of view? Well,
I think in my previous incarnation, I think at the most I looked after 1,500 just sales heads. So there's quite a wide diversity of teams and markets and whatever. But there was definitely a theme that the teams that worked together collaborated the most. And it wasn't necessarily a pay scheme that did it. I can remember some teams that They called it out of love, and other teams, they would account for every last kind of lead that was passed over. But the teams where they had a good spirit of working together, not only did they do more business, they just, the staff retention, should I say, was better in those teams. The mojo, if you like, certainly for engagement surveys and things like that, was better. So I definitely, advocate trying to foster and enable an environment of sharing, working on things together and collaboration, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I think I was really pleased to see when we did our roundup last year that over 50% of the placements at Insight were collaborated. And I think that, from an internal working together and people valuing each other and respecting each other works really well. But I also think from a customer point of view, if they're getting that same extended service in all the different areas of the business, not just their one team.
Well, look, I mean, the cliches or whatever, but people buy from people, and people leave their managers. You've got all the company and and all the rest of it goes with it, and we can do our utmost to make sure that we're in line with certain values and all the rest of it. But ultimately, the customers buy from a person, and if somebody doesn't stay with the business, they generally leave because their manager's not done a good job.